Hey everyone, this is another episode of Dangerous Ideas, and on this podcast what we do is we break down ideas and frameworks that will ultimately just change your life. And I want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek of an office that we're now in. It's called The Good Space by Mercer in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. You can take a look at this place. I mean, it is absolutely great. We got a studio close by as well. And we're going to be shooting a lot more content in this studio. And so what I wanted to do today is bring to you one of my favorite episodes, which is essentially bringing you some dangerous ideas by pulling in some clips of some things that I've been hearing on different shows and podcasts to just curate the best for you. And the first clip that I want to bring is from one of my favorite podcasters, Steven Bartlett. And actually at the end of this podcast, I'm going to reveal a secret that I'm going to be announcing hopefully soon, but you're going to get a sneak peek of this because you're listening to this on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever else that you're listening to this, and that's going to be a secret at the end of this podcast. But anyways, I was watching a vlog with Steven Bartlett, and he had this incredible story of him playing paddle and how he changed the trajectory of his friend when it came to paddle. It seems like a silly story, but this is a story about mindset, and I'm gonna drop the clip right now.
So my friends, Oliver, Logan, Michael, and Ash playing paddle. Now, I'm the best at paddle. That's the end of the story. I'm joking. I'm by far I'm the best at paddle, right? So they can't beat me, whatever. And then it's Logan, then it's Oliver, then it's like Michael and Ash. And I watched Ash playing, and I was sat watching him on the side. We played for 3 days straight. I'm like, he's only missing the easy shots. Like all the hard shots he gets back, he's missing the easy ones. So I think the problem is in his mind. The next day we sat down, and the other guys were playing. I said, Ash, you only miss the easy shots. So the problem is actually in your brain. So I'm going to give you something that I've kind of learned from the podcast and generally life, is every time you miss a point, say in your head, it doesn't matter, I'm a better player. Because what ends up happening is you miss a point and you kind of spiral in your head without knowing, emotionally spiral, and then it affects your game. So if you can just let the point go, then you should come out near your actual skill set. He goes, okay, I'm going to say that. He went out and beat everybody, including me. And he's unbeatable now. He beat Logan, he beat Oliver, he then beat me. And then we played in doubles, and whoever had Ash on their team before lost the doubles. He's unbeaten in doubles now. If he's on your team, you win. And they didn't know what was going on. They don't know what our private conversation.
Now, the reason why I love this clip is because it is a fundamental mindset shift for Steven's friend, and it changed how he looked at the game, but most importantly, how he looked at himself. And the reason why I think this is so powerful is because I think we often confuse a moment to your identity. In this culture, we celebrate flawless execution. We celebrate high performers that avoid mistakes. But the reality is that the best performers, the best talent, they are not just, it's not that they're not making mistakes, but they're actually recovering faster. They don't ask the question, why did this happen? Woe is me. But they're saying, how do we get to the next point? How do we get to the next play? One of my favorite examples is this. Steph Curry. In January of 2026, Steph Curry is going to reach a milestone. He is going to reach a milestone of missing 10,000 shots. Let me repeat. The milestone is missing 10,000 shots. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because Steph Curry is the greatest shooter of all time, and he misses 52% of the time. Can you imagine the greatest shooter of all time missing 10,000 shots? And the reason why he is the greatest shooter of all time in the NBA is because he doesn't meditate on the shot that he missed. He just goes on to the next shot and to the next play. And when you can detach yourself from the shot, when you can detach yourself from the failure, it allows you to take more shots. I would say this is that, people always ask within an organization, how do we incentivize innovation? And my belief is that the greatest way of incentivizing innovation is allowing people to take more shots. When people get their hand slapped within an organization, what happens is that we are afraid to make a mistake. We're afraid to take another shot. And the way to create more innovation is by encouraging people to make more shots. My belief is the reason why people fail, it's not because they don't have the best strategy, it's because they hesitate. They play it safely. And so that the more that you can train yourself to think about the next moment is how you can be successful. And to be honest with you, I think we have been trained to showcase our highlight reel, to post the best clips on Instagram, to post our achievements and accomplishments on LinkedIn. And because of that, we're afraid to fail. And the more that we become comfortable with failure, and train our mindset to say, hey, I'm actually incredible at what I do. This was just a silly mistake. The more that we can move things forward. And the reason why I love this clip is because I think about my kids. Sometimes they get really paralyzed when they make a mistake or they haven't done something well. And the way that I'm gonna speak to my kids is like, I'm gonna tell them, hey, you made a mistake, but you're still great at this. Keep moving forward. And I think if you recognize that you made a mistake, but you also recognize that you're still really great at this, or you can do better, is a great mindset shift. So, great clip from Steven Bartlett. All right, this next clip is from Imad Mustuk. He's a great founder from Stability AI, and we've dropped him on this podcast before. And part of the reason why we've dropped him is because he has these really controversial takes when it comes to AI. He's incredibly bullish on the speed and the, I guess, existential nature of AI to labor. And in this clip, he drops something that I think we all need to really understand when it comes to the speed of this technology. Let's drop the clip.
End of 27, 28, next 1,000 days, what's going to happen on a yearly basis?
So end of 26, you will have probably an AI that for many cognitive jobs can create a digital twin of you on the other side of a keyboard, video, and mouse and replace you, like talented Mr. Ripley style, right? And it will do your job better than you can. And it will have your mannerisms and everything like that. That technology is capable. You won't see mass firings unless you have an economic downturn because companies don't like to fire people. It's bad for morale, and more than that, people do the job good enough. If you have a downturn, though, people will start losing their jobs. And on the flip side, 2027, they're not going to get rehired. So graduate entry-level jobs dry up almost completely for cognitive sector. Then you start to see that displacement. And then 27, you start to see the first robots that can do physical tasks better. And they might cost $50,000, but $50,000 is $5 an hour. By 2028, they'll probably get down towards $20,000. And by 2028, you'll definitely have the full stack of almost every job that can be done remotely, can be done by an AI better. And the cost of that will be probably $100 a year for that AI to do your job better.
He's essentially saying if AI could do my job better for less than $100 a year, then we need to be thinking about the value that we bring to our organization. He's talking about the fact that AI is really on an exponential scale, and at some point it is going to commoditize almost every job, not only in knowledge work, but also pretty soon in labor-intensive work as well. And I actually think as individuals, we need to be preparing for this moving forward. And so here are some takeaways that I think that are incredibly important around how you can navigate the AI revolution. I believe in building your personal moat. Now, a personal moat is your unfair advantage. It is your competitive advantage. It's how you separate yourself from the rest of the world. And one of the best ways of creating your own personal moat is to write, to teach, to ship, to build in public, to create IP, to build artifacts, to build something that is defensible, that you can attach your name to, and make sure that it's searchable and referenceable in a way. The other thing that's going to be important is it's not how much you know, but it's going to be about your direction, your taste, your judgment under uncertainty, accountability, taking action, being innovative, executing. These things are going to become disproportionately more important in a AI world. The idea that you don't hesitate and you go off and really take action. And the last piece, I think, is one of the most controversial pieces, is that I think getting a degree, credentializing yourself, is actually going to waste time. And the more that you can double down and create this mastery around a particular domain, a skill, a problem, get a measurable outcome, is going to become disproportionately more important. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe in the idea of status. I think having a degree from an incredible institution or an incredible school can still differentiate you, or getting an incredible brand name company is still gonna be valuable. But if you're not getting it from an incredible institution, or having a really scarce status symbol, unfortunately, don't waste time. Go off and actually build those skills and develop this like micro mastery in something. And I think it's just this idea that I think what you build, your experiments, is become disproportionately more important as we move into the future. It's interesting. Last week, a young person came up to me after one of my keynotes, and she asked me, what drove you to where you are today? And my answer was bricks. The ability to lay bricks. In basketball, laying bricks is actually a negative. It's the idea that you actually shot an air ball. But I believe that actually bricks is the foundation. Today, we're actually so afraid to take an L. We're so afraid to take an air ball. But I actually think that's the learning. A brick is simply a learning. It's the terrible first sales call that you had. That's a brick. It's the presentation that you bombed. That's a brick. It's the weekend that you spend, or the entire holiday that you spend working on a deck for a client and they didn't even like it. That's a brick. The reason why I'm mentioning that piece is that happened to me. All these things are learnings at the end of the day. And I believe in order to create a remarkable career, in order to create an incredible, unstoppable career, you need those bricks. You need that foundation. In order to build something that is truly remarkable, you need to have that foundation in place. And to me, I think we are so afraid of laying those bricks and taking those L's and those learnings. And actually, I think if you look at every single sort of successful individual and what drove them to ultimately having success is laying that groundwork. My belief is that an incredible career, a prolific career, is about exploration. You're exploring different domains, you're taking L's, you're learning, you're developing that foundation, and at some point you exploit and you build something remarkable for yourself. So, that's why I think this idea of like taking action, learning, is going to become so important as we move into the future. All right, this next clip is from a podcast called 7 p.m. In Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony, who is a legend, NBA legend. And on this podcast, they had Kevin Hart. Carmelo Anthony was asking Kevin Hart about why he loves collaborating with upcoming streamers and comedians like Kai and Drewski, and this is what Kevin Hart said.
You've been locking in with the younger generation. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Kai, Drewski, like all the young creators. What is that? And when I say what is that, meaning why go to them? Why embrace them? I know you and your relationship with Drewski and all of those guys, but like, why did you choose to embrace that?
I think it's necessary, right? Like and I'm quite sure you can relate being a vet and looking at the game of basketball change and this younger generation of athletes come into the game. It's dope as fuck when you can be a part of the like transition to the new.
Yep.
Right? Like the world is going to change with or without you. So you can be a part of the change with it and support it, or you can be oblivious to it. You know, comedy is changing, and the road to success in comedy is not the same road that it once was. And, you know.
Now, the reason why I love this clip so much is because I think it is incredibly valuable to learn from the people that are up and coming, sort of the next generation, and to see how they move, to see how they approach the world through a fundamentally new lens. Because the world is always changing, and I think this is why Kevin Hart is, maintaining his relevance. This is why, if you look throughout history, and performers or actors or artists or whoever it might be, athletes, they're learning from the generation below them, and the people that stop innovating, they stop being relevant, is that they're not becoming rookies. They're not embracing the next generation. It was really interesting from a personal perspective. Last week, I was at my speaking agency's holiday party. They also had this incredible workshop that they put together the day after. And I was invited to this dinner one of the nights, and there was a whole bunch of incredible thinkers and speakers that were there. And they were a class, a generation above me, meaning they were a little bit older. They're probably like a decade older. And I remember talking to some individuals that were there, and I heard a lot of complaining, and I heard a lot of folks that were, I guess they didn't understand how this new world worked. And I realized that after leaving that conversation with this generation that was ahead of me, I believe that you can learn a lot from the people that, paved the way for you. But I think you can learn a lot from the new generation that's coming up that are doing things in a fundamentally different way. And I actually learn a lot more from the young hustlers that are experimenting, that are trying new ways of doing things, rather than the people that are doing things that in a tried and tested way. And to me, I guess, especially when it comes to the keynote speaking world and that realm, the world is changing very quickly. And so for me, being a content creator, being somebody that is trying to navigate how to be great on stage and off stage, I actually get inspiration from people in my field that are doing things differently, but also people from outside of the industry that are also doing things differently. So it was kind of like a interesting realization for me to be like, how do I stay on the ground floor and just continue to connect with the people that are just innovating and experimenting. And so I think that's what Kevin Hart is doing. I think that's what all the great artists do in order to stay relevant. They take a look at the generation that's coming above them and that are doing things differently. Let's get to the secret. All right, so I'm incredibly excited to announce this has been a bucket list event for me for the last decade. I really don't think that there's another event on the planet that I wanted to be more at than this particular conference. It's called the Nordic Business Forum. I remember, even a decade ago, watching clips of people like Jim Collins and Seth Godin be at this incredible forum, and I just signed the contract to be in Helsinki and Oslo in September 2026. And guess what? The other keynotes there will be Steven Bartlett, Oprah Winfrey, Angela Duckworth, and some other incredible names. And I'm super honored to be on this roster, like super humbled. I think part of the reason is because just growing up, I remember my mother watching Oprah Winfrey and just like watching that show with her, and to be able to show my mom that, you know, we're gonna be at the same event is actually really cool. And the other thing is, you know, Steven Bartlett. Steven Bartlett is somebody that I've respected for many years. He's been dropped on this podcast so many different times. And he is like, in a sense, he's kind of like the next Oprah Winfrey, right? And so, yeah, that's happening in September of 2026. And I just want to thank everybody that has been supporting me along this way on this podcast and through my keynotes and content and books. Yeah, super excited about that. I'm also, I guess the other thing that I'm really excited to announce is I am going to be announcing my next book as well. I just signed a deal with Matt Holtz from Ben Bella Books, incredible publisher. I'm super excited to be working with them. I was almost gonna go with them the first time with my first book as a publisher because they were so innovative, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I don't know if it's a right fit, and I regret it. And I went back to them, and we struck up an incredible relationship. I'm super excited to be announcing a little bit more about my next book. I think it's gonna be unbelievable. So thank you for rocking me on this podcast. Rate, subscribe, whatever you got to do, and we'll see you guys on the next one.